Good morning, everybody. My name is Araceli Gonzalez, and I am the Vice Chair of CADRE's Board of Directors. I wanted to welcome you this morning's session to the Agency Emergency Planning for CBOs and Nonprofits. We are pleased to see so many of you logging into the session, and welcome everybody. Anna is our CADRE's Director of Planning, Training, and Communication Resilience, and I want to turn things over to her to get underway at this time.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Araceli. And good morning, everyone. I know folks are still logging in and getting settled in. By way of introduction, if you could change your Zoom ID window, if you would be willing to do that, with your first name and the name of the organization that you represent, that would be really wonderful for our speakers today to kind of have a reference point of who's with us. At this moment, I'd like to introduce two other individuals. Marcia Hovey is CADRE's Executive Director. Marcia, if you want to turn your camera on for just a moment and wave at folks. I have so many windows open, I can't see them all, so I'm not sure if you're waving, Marcia. The other person I'd like to introduce is Heather Lee with San Francisco CARD. She is the leader for our community preparedness program across the Bay Area, and I'm going to give her just a moment to say a few welcome remarks as well.
Hi, I'm Heather Lee. One of my names in this program is Community Preparedness Liaison, and I am here to say hi and let you know that in terms of the Bay Area UASI, which is the Urban Area Security Initiative, it's a big pool of money is really what it is. But I am your representative in a lot of meetings. If you ever need to connect with someone in emergency management in your county or another county, hit me up. I'm that person that can help connect you. And in particular, and this may come up again later, but we have a lot of people outside of our specific area in the Bay Area here today, or at least that registered. I don't know if you're here yet. I can't see everybody. But chat with me offline or whatever. I'll be reaching out to you. I want to help make sure you get connected to your local group, because as we all know, this stuff is all local. It's who you know when a disaster happens, and it's best to know the people who are close by to help you out. And I want to make sure that we do that. Thanks, Anna.
All right, thank you, Heather. Okay, so a couple of housekeeping notes as people are still logging in. We have a few kind of roles in today's program. Ron Haylog is our access coordinator. He's waving to you on screen. If you have any accessibility needs, please feel free to direct message Ron or send something out in the everything box, and we'll try and catch you there. We are running live transcript via Zoom, as well as live transcript with Otter AI. So those are two different options. One opens a separate browser window. One opens a transcript box like the chat box, and you can run subtitles if you so desire or turn them off. The other housekeeping note, we have a tech assistance coordinator. That is my other co-presenter, Lars Eric Holmes. He's waving at you on camera. If you have any technology problems, reach out to Lars Eric. I also have Rich Saito from our CADRE Board of Directors, who will be monitoring our CADRE administrative email account. So if you are having any troubles, you can also reach out to Rich through our email that you got your reminder notices from today. With that, we are recording today's session. And so if you would be willing to turn on your cameras if they're not on, just for a moment, so we can put some names and faces together. We'd love to say good morning to you, wave at us. Oh, thank you, everyone. I see a lot of cameras coming on. Beautiful. Thank you for doing that. You're welcome to leave your camera on. If you're having bandwidth issues, you can turn it off. If you do speak aloud, we do ask that you turn your camera on so we can put names and faces together. If your camera's off, pay attention. We will be asking you to interact with today's program. We may even call on you. So we hope not too many people are multitasking in our Zoom world of work these days. So with that, let me move us forward. I think Heather covered. We're here for the first in our South Bay series of workshops on community preparedness, and we're funded by the Bay Area UASI, which is in your chat box. Let me see if I can move my slides forward. There we are. Our objectives for today's session is to start off with having you do a little activity to assess the readiness of your own organization, learn how to improve your agency's own readiness and resilience, and have an opportunity to dialogue with other nonprofits and emergency managers and government representatives that are here today as well, to learn about other planning efforts and resources to help strengthen your own organization. We wanted to start today's program with a little fun activity. We're going to build something called a word cloud. So if you haven't seen this done before, there's two ways for you to play in this first activity. You can hold your cell phone camera up to this QR code, and it'll immediately take you to a link to something called a Menti. If you don't have your camera phone nearby, you can open up a separate browser window at menti.com and put in that 8-digit number. And it's going to ask you two questions. We're going to ask you what agencies you represent and what type of services you provide. And I'm going to switch my screens at this moment and let you see what we're building. So give me just a moment. And if you're having any tech problems, Lars Eric has put the links in the chat box. And let's see what we have. So the organizations that are here today, we're starting to see names pop in here. Sunnyvale, Department of Public Services, North Coast Opportunities, Healthier Kids, County Office of Education, Rebuilding Together. Thank you guys. And the other slide, and I'll keep popping back and forth, is what kind of services are provided by all of you. So we're seeing youth health, case management, education, health education, preparedness training, nonprofit resources, food distribution. All right. Thank you. Let's go back. So I know that it's a little bit difficult to always see all of the windows and boxes on your screen of who's here, but we do actively encourage you to get to know one another, build relationships. If you see a new program and you've been trying to find out more about them, you know, you're welcome to use the chat box to connect with one another. Let me get back to our program. Thank you for doing that. And here's the live results box. If you want to keep watching that grow, you're welcome to do so. And Lars Eric will put that in the chat box for us as well, so you can kind of take a look at that or leave that open on your window for your own information. Okay, so today's program, what are we doing? We're wrapping up our welcome and introductions. We're going to move you right into your self-assessment activity, and then we're going to talk about these emergency planning concepts that myself and Ron and Lars Eric have prepared to share with you today. Let's see. If you have not yet downloaded and printed the Triangle Agency Self-Assessment Tool and the table of hierarchy planning elements, Lars Eric's putting those in the chat. You should have gotten an email this morning asking you to be prepared for this activity, but I'm going to give you a few moments while we keep going on the agenda to grab your materials. So what we have is our welcome and introductions, our self-assessment activity. We'll do a breakout session where we'll break out into 3 different groups. We'll come back together, share a few reflections, and then get you back on your way by 10:30 today. So my co-presenters for this morning are Ron Halog. He has served in the disability nonprofit sector for over 35 years. Throughout his successful career in the disability sector, he's worked with many nonprofits across the Bay Area region, including American Red Cross, Easter Seals Bay Area, community resources for independent living, to name just a few. Ron is currently the Emergency Preparedness Coordinator for Independent Living Resources in Solano and Contra Costa County. And he's also the Alameda County VOAD Vice Chair and a member of our statewide functional assessment service team serving Alameda County. My other co-presenter this morning is Lars Eric Holmes. He joins us from Eden Information and Referral in Hayward, where he holds the position of Disaster Preparedness Coordinator, and he's been involved in disaster preparedness since 2008. Before joining Eden INR in 2016, Lars Eric was the senior community educator in a nonprofit known as CADRE, Collaborating Agencies Responding to Disasters, a nonprofit in Oakland, based in Oakland, California. Lars Eric is the current chair of Alameda County VOAD, and both these gentlemen are longtime colleagues and friends of mine, and I'm very pleased to be able to share today's program and their collective wisdom with all of you this morning. All right, last housekeeping exercise, Zoom reactions. Hopefully everybody's really familiar with this. Give me a thumbs up emoji if you're seeing that. Give me a raised hand in your participant window so we know you know how to find that if you have something to say. Wonderful, folks. Love the interaction. Just trying to get everybody connected, and off we go. All right, so our first activity is the self-assessment tool. I hope you have your red, yellow, and green markers, crayons, pencils, whatever you want to use this morning, and you have your printout of this self-assessment triangle. We want to have you take a few moments and think about your own organization. Mark the boxes in green for things that you feel your organization has done or has a pretty good handle on. Maybe you offer personal preparedness to your staff and volunteers as an example. Yellow are the boxes we want you to mark if you're currently working on that topic. And red are what I call the things that keep you up at night. What have you not yet thought about or planned for your own organization? Things that you're worried about that you hope to hear about in today's program. There is a companion document that hopefully you printed out that looks like this on your screen. It gives you a few little definitions and other hints of what each of those boxes correspond to. And so with that, I'm gonna let you take just 2 or 3 minutes to do this coloring exercise, and Ron's gonna entertain us in the background.
And feel to sing along if you'd like.
Hey, Ron, can you pump up the volume a little bit? Oh, you're on mute. Maybe that's part of the problem.
Now we have Ron and Eric with us. Again.
We are the champions. We are the champions. Ooh, we are the champions.
I think that's enough, right, Anna?
Yep, I'm just asking Lars Eric to check in with Jody. I see Jody's hand still up. I'm not sure if she has a question, he or she. All right, folks, let me get us back to our PowerPoint. And tell me, what were your thoughts as you did this exercise? You know, put in the chat box, tell us, you know, how'd that make you feel? Kind of thinking about your own organization. Anything surprise you? Overwhelmed, So much to think about. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Philip. That's what we're here to help you with this morning, and kind of breaking this down into what we hope will offer you some support tools and guidance. Yep, a lot to learn and implement. Okay, so Araceli, I had asked if Araceli would give a few remarks about, well, why do you think disaster planning is important, and what are what's been the commitment for Catholic Charities as a nonprofit here?
Well, why is it important? It is very important to get things settled. As you know, as everybody knows, COVID had no discrimination. It affected everybody. And with that, we put into play many things, especially trying to serve so many people in such a little turnaround. Having things put into place really was a success on our end to be able to help thousands of families within a 24-hour turnaround. We organized with CADRE, we organized with other CBOs within 5 hours of the shutdown, had a wonderful weekend meetings of collaborating and coordinating and making sure all the right partners were in the room to be able to set up a successful food distribution, food drive-through within 48 hours. And also working together with the logistics, the staffing, the preparedness. There were having collaborations on our end we were able to call somebody from the EOC to get a maps of all South Santa Clara County, work with other nonprofits to try to get whatever we needed based on the resource from the community. And having those key partners at the very beginning was very helpful because we were not scrambling. We were definitely there, committed, had all the key partners when it first started, and we were able to move quickly.
Thank you, Araceli. So there's a little bit of a success story. We hope we can have others of you grow and model your own programs like Catholic Charities has been able to do. Feel free to put in the chat box if I see other comments. Yeah, trusted messengers already in the community. Share with one another, what are some of the key things that you're doing that is helping with preparedness within your own organizations, or if you have a specific question that you came here today with that you're hoping to hear answers either from Ron, Lars Eric, or myself, or from your peers. Put it in the chat box because we're all here to help one another this morning. Okay, so we're going to move on with the actual topic. The focus of this morning is planning for your own organization. So as Araceli was saying, why do we plan in the first place? And, I guess I would say the events of the past couple of weeks have certainly brought that to light, right? I mean, how many wildfires are we all looking at? I know we have some of our nonprofits from our North Bay communities who have been impacted by the public safety power shutoffs. And we are still looking at ever more wildfires as this fall season continues on. And on top of all of that, who knew a year and a half ago we'd all be facing this worldwide pandemic, or in this moment right now, this fourth wave of the Delta variant and how it's impacting not just our work lives, but all of our personal lives as well. So I get totally that this can feel overwhelming, and we want to help support you in doing this work in planning and give you some tools and resources. So let's talk about two terms for just a moment, disaster planning and disaster resilience. Emergency plans, when you put things in writing and put them down in the form of a plan document, that helps to communicate with your staff and clients and others external to your organization what you intend to do as a nonprofit or community-based program. It helps you define internally what essential services are you going to focus on that might be different from your day-to-day programs and activities, and whether your organization can do maybe more than your normal or something different than your normal services to support the greater community. An example of that was Catholic Charities, as Araceli said, had to pivot. How many of us just learned that word in the COVID environment? Pivot. And she was running a food distribution program 6 days a week for many, many months. That's not a normal program that Catholic Charities did. That was a COVID response program. Disaster resilience is the kind of work that we do that helps our organizations with their ability to rebound from any kind of damage or disruption that results from a particular emergency or disaster. And it's a combination of personnel, organization, and facility capacities that help you resume your operations. Not everything that you do to build your organization's resilience necessarily gets reflected in your plan document. So some of the boxes in that triangle are really around resilience, and some of them are things that as you tackle those planning topics will actually nest or live in a plan document. So we just kind of wanted to call out those two differences and encourage you to do raise the bar for your own organization in being more prepared and more resilient. So what goes along, oops, I went too far. There is a planning guide that goes with this triangle, and there's kind of a workbook. And so each of those boxes has a set of questions and planning guidance that goes with each of these boxes. And we will be sending out this full emergency planning guide to all of you after today's program. I see some thumbs up and happy smiles. So yes, we will send that out to everyone. There's a planning guide. There's a little history at the front of it of how we developed this hierarchy and this table. And there's also something called an annotated outline. So if you are just starting the emergency planning process for your organization, you don't yet have a written plan, email us at the CADRE email account and ask for the annotated outline as well, and we'll send that out to you. It kind of walks you through a little bit of instruction and tells you once you've completed the workbook questions, where you put that information in kind of a standard plan format or document. If you have a plan that you're already looking to improve or see where you might have gaps, this is what today's program will also do. And you can just work through the relevant sections of the workbook, kind of like a cafeteria style menu, and then insert that information into your existing plan. So that's what we're planning to give you today. And with that, I'm going to transition to my colleague Ron to start us off on Tier 1.
Anna, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's like, you know, for many of you, you know that I actually like to play and have fun, especially with emergency preparedness. And so we're going to be talking about the bottom of this pyramid. And so there's a song that I like. It's about the base. This is where we're going to be starting at. So for me, it's like I really want to make sure that we start right down here. And really quick, it's like, Anna, if you can actually switch to the next slide, appreciate that. Perfect. And at the next slide, you'll see on the very, very far left, personal preparedness. And for me, this is one of those little things that I cherish because I do work with people with disabilities and seniors with access and function needs. And this is really something that they can partake in. But then when I took it up to the agency level, you know, really quick, use your chat. It's like, I want to see when a disaster hits, what's the first group of people you think about? Just put it in chat for me, please. Write it in there. Low income, good, co-ed, family, very good, very good. My wife and my daughters. You know what? It's typically family and it's the people around us. It's like, you know, people often ask me, how do I get myself or others involved in emergency preparedness? And I always tell them this. It's like, if you take it back to your core, what is valuable to you? And a lot of people are going to say, my family. People will also say, my animals, my pets, that they're part of the family. And so I used to tell my staff, it's like, we're concerned about your needs and also your family's needs. Because if you're not able to make sure that your family's secure, there's no way you're going to be able to help the agency. So it always starts with us, with the family. So, and you know, for emergency preparedness training, you can always come in, and there's been lots of different emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness trainings that are out there that tell you, if you don't do this, people are going to expire, die. That's not what this is about. This is about really taking a look at what is valuable to each person. And if you get that why for the staff and for your teams, they're going to be more apt to actually dive into this stuff. So really push that, you know, we're caring not only about you, but also your whole entire family. And so here's some questions that I really want to make sure that you ask your teams, yourself and your teams. You know, will you offer or facilitate personal preparedness training for your staff and volunteers? And right now, there's a lot of trainings that are out there put on through Bay Area WASI, through CADRE, ALCO-VOAD, all different types, and we're all online. And I know we have people from all over the United States, New York, I think North Carolina, we've got them in Texas, Southern California, Northern California, you name it. Disasters are hitting all over the place. And so make sure that you're trying to find out what type of trainings can I offer my teams, and they're free. You don't have to go, you know, deep in your pockets to do this. Also ask, you know, what type of trainings that are out there. There's personal preparedness trainings. Matter of fact, we're going to be doing an AFN, access and function needs. And, you know, when we talk about families, we really look at not only the kids, but also the parents. Parents might have access and function needs. They take medications. They might be in wheelchairs. They might be on a CPAP. What resources are there for them? And so really take a look. They're out there. Trust me. It's like, if not, it's like get a hold of CADRE on it. We're linked up to it. And also take a look at some other places like the fire department, police department, CERT teams that can do these trainings. It's valuable to have. And then one thing that you can really do that's going to be eye-opening for the staff is make sure you have a procedure set in place for them to check their home, their families. If you have that, that tells them, hey, this company really does talk what they want to do. That's the value that we're going to be giving, is actually making sure that people will actually check on their families before they can jump and work with us. So personal preparedness training, again, we do an hour-long training free of charge. People can definitely jump in. I know that CADRE does it, we do it, San Francisco CARD does it, you name it. It's like we're out there, and they're free. You got to take advantage of them. Anna, slide 2 or next slide. Perfect. Thank you so much. And so we're going to jump over the emergency coordinating team and just jump into emergency alert and notification. And so who should be alerted of emergencies and by what method? You know, I love this because a lot of us have relied so much on our cell phones. But, you know, as a FAST team member, it's like I was relying on them when before COVID hit, we were deployed up in Napa for some of the fires. And we were relying on cell phones. And then all of a sudden, cell phone towers went out. We were less than 2 miles away from the front, and we're like, what do we do? And so we're using ham radios, we're using texting, you know, and texting works great. So you want to find out multiple ways to actually communicate, redundant ways to communicate. And I know a lot of you use the plain old telephone system, the POTS, and which is great because when power's down, those systems still work. But you also want to make sure that you have other ways to communicate. And for this, you know, we can use, how do you communicate with emergencies coming out of your area? We use 911. Everybody knows that. But then how do we get information coming to us? And, you know, I know for Santa Cruz and San Benito counties, they use code red, and that's SCR 911. for California, California is really, it's great to be here, but we have in every single county, we have an alert system. And I think across the nation, there's county alert systems. For California, Lars, Eric, I'm going to ask you to put this on our chat. The link is Cal Alerts. So it's http://calalerts.org/signup.html. And that will take you to every single county in California to sign up for their alert system. And I personally am on 5 different alerts for work and then also for family. I want to find out what's going on in the different areas. And so you can sign up for it as well. But then if you're living somewhere in Texas or anything like that, take a look at your county websites. There's alert systems in there that you can sign up for as well. And then for, San Benito and Santa Cruz counties, to sign up for the SCR, just go to www.scr911.org. And you can get these alerts coming in. And one thing you should know about too is you can actually put, little, when it does come in, you can put little notations on who's calling in. I know for SCR 911, you can complete it by adding in their phone number, and that's 866-419-5000. That way you know that it's coming and you don't have a block or anything like that. Okay. And so just go to, and then there's Code Red app that you can actually jump into as well. So just make sure you're getting information coming to you. And there's one thing that I learned about emergency preparedness, and it's this: no information is better than bad information. Let me repeat that one more time. No information is better than bad information. Bad information can get people hurt. We don't want that. So, but make sure that if we're giving out any information, you have to make sure that you're giving out the correct ones. Okay. So, and that goes across the board to your staff members as well. How are you going to communicate with your staff, with your consumers, with your clientele? What's that function? For some of you, we just had a PSPS, a public safety power shutoff. I was active in Solano County, Contra Costa County, and also Napa County and Sonoma County. I was doing some backup for them as well. And, for my group, it's like I usually send out information via email. Well, when power goes out, they're not necessarily going to get it, but they do have their phones. So we're going to be using text. So that's their backup. So always have redundancies as you go through this. Anna, next slide, please. Great, thank you. And so emergency coordinating teams. And again, just know for your agencies, and I'm going through this really quick, guys, and I'm just giving you highlights of this. This training really takes place when you start working with your groups, okay? It's like when you start piecing this out, this is not a one-time, and I love emergency preparedness trainings for agencies because some of us have done this, and we've done it in a bubble where we've actually developed the emergency plan with just, you as the program director or the executive director and the finance person. Those 3 people usually come up with it, but we never send it down to the rest of the teams or send it up to our board of directors. So it's really important that you develop these coordinating teams, and just know that there's two required teams on emergency preparedness. There's the planning team. What are we going to do? And then there's a response team. And they have that plan of what you've developed. And sometimes in small organizations, you actually have each person, they might be part of the planning team and they also might be part of the response team. It depends. It's like some organizations only have 10 staff. I had one of them. Some of us had 50 staff. I had one of those as well. And so we really had to work that coordination out. And just know that the emergency, the planning team can be a safety committee, a risk management committee, but you want to really find out what you want to do to step that up. And emergency coordinating, basically, we're going to be talking about ICS. I know that, and for some of you who don't know what ICS is, it's Incident Command System. It's a way to structure your teams into working with a disaster. Matter of fact, you can even have an ICS team for a bake sale or a fundraiser. My counterpart, Lars Eric, has a great example of it. He does a wonderful job. I know that CADRE is going to also be doing a training on ICS on September 7th. I would say if you want to learn more about it, definitely sign up for those trainings. It's a great training to learn how your teams can actually step it up. But just know that you're going to be having an incident commander. You're going to be having somebody in logistics and communications, public in security, all these different steps or different positions. That way you can make sure that whatever disaster comes your way, you're going to be prepared for it. Okay, Anna, next slide, please. Perfect. Okay, guys, what I really want to find out on this one, this is about finding out where you're working from. And then during this COVID work environment, are you working from home? And what does that look like compared to working in an office? And there's definitely some different things that in the workbook you're going to be talking about, from emergency procedures down to hazardous assessment, down to resilient of facilities. You're going to be really taking a look at what's it like in my home. Is my house secure? Do we have a foundation for an earthquake? Or, do we need to retrofit? Or do you have shelves that are stacked high? You can see behind me, I do have a shelf. It's not a high shelf. I purposely did that. Everything's lower. Anything that can fall, it's like it uses the putties to make sure that it's on there, it doesn't fall over, that the shelves are actually braced up. Those are some of the things that you can take a look at your own personal home. Again, if our personal space, our families, our homes are not secure, our minds are always going to be running back to what's going on in my family before we can actually get to our work. So we want to make sure that our homes, our families are secure, and then our minds are going to go to our work. And so really quick, I'm just going to touch upon this hazard assessment. Again, if you ever had any type of earthquake, what kind of damage that can happen. So there's definitely some things that you can do to take, prevention on setting up procedures on how to get out of an earthquake. What's the first 3 things during an earthquake that we do? Drop, cover, and hold. That's it. Everybody knows. Okay, perfect. And so you always want to make sure that you're taking steps that everybody knows what to do. And then resilience, I talked a little bit about physical space, but then also just about making sure that your procedures are definitely in place on what to do. Again, lack of planning will definitely get you in more of a headache than not. So make sure your planning teams are always set up. So with that, Anna, I'm going to hand it back to you.
Okay, and I see folks have been really active in the chat box, and I really encourage you to continue to do that. Philip asked a question, a really good one. He said he's signed up for alerts on his cell phone. Is that what we're talking about? That's a partial answer. That gets you what's called the wireless emergency alerts based on the location of your phone. Our government entities can push something out, it'll ping your phone and give you that alert. What Ron was talking about in terms of some of the other alerting systems allow you to opt in to additional messages that might not be pushed out through the wireless alert. And so we'd ask you to, consider looking at, what county you're in, what counties you have loved ones in that you want to stay connected on any kind of alerting and warning systems. And those are the websites or the applications that Ron was speaking about. So I hope that answered your question, Philip.
And actually there's another, everybody knows 911. There's actually a program out there too around the United States called Smart 911. And that's something that you might want to take a look to see if your cities and your counties are actually having that. I know for Contra Costa County, we've got four cities that are a part of it. what Smart 911 does is it actually, you can set it up where your information is already in the system. So if you have somebody who has a disability or on medication or anything like that, you can actually put that information in. And then when you call, 911 knows what to respond to. It cuts down on a lot of time and a lot of trouble. Because as you know, 911 will stay on the phone with you and ask you the questions. And that often takes a lot more time that can put people in danger. So definitely there's a lot of things out there. I know this 15 minutes is not going to be enough. So, but Anna, it's back to you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. And thank you, Dwell, for also sharing a little tip in the chat box about 911 and cell phones. So keep that window open. There's lots of really good information in our chat box going on today. And with that, let's move on to tier 2. And I'm going to turn this over at this moment to Lars Erik to guide us through this section.
Hi there. Thank you all very much. And thank you for that, Ron. So I'm going to try to build off that base a little bit here. Now that we have that, some of that base and some of the things I'll be talking about will overlap. If you go to next slide, please, Anna. And by the way, I'm a pretty chatty kind of person, so I really love the fact that people are in the chat. That's an awesome thing. There's several functions on this tier, but I think the one I've noticed over the years that I've been doing this is the one that people sometimes kind of get a little bit stuck on is the disaster mission statement. That one seems to be, I know one of the last workshops Ron and I did together, that was one that just took a lot of time. A lot of people kind of seemed like they really kind of got stuck in that. So I'm gonna try to spend a portion of my time talking about ways to approach that. So first off, in the chat box, how many people do you know if you even have currently a disaster mission statement? So if you could do like a show of hands, either visually using the reactions or by popping into the chat. Good. So I see a hand up. I saw a hand up visually. See a thumbs up. See another thumbs up. Good. Somebody's not sure, which makes, I understand that. You know, somebody's going, oh, yeah, about that. Cool. So 3 thumbs up, 1 person like, yeah, I don't think I do. Good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that reaction. And part of it is, you know, the good starting place for this is actually kind of knowing what your regular mission statement is. One approach to this, in fact, is to think about what your everyday mission statement is and how might that delta, and by delta, I mean change. How might that be different from your everyday mission? Because for some agencies, what they do every day will be very similar to what they do in a disaster with some tweaks. For other agencies, it might be actually quite different. So if you could do the next slide, please, Anna. And go ahead and click a couple of points here. I like to do builds, but you know. So basically, it's about what you're going to be up to. What are you going to be doing during a time of crisis? What role do you intend to play? Who are you going to be for your clients? Does your current mission statement encompass that or not? There's that delta I was talking about. And you also have to think about your commitments and your resource limitations. Like, what can you do? So one way I saw this approached a long time ago by somebody with the Red Cross was he kind of thought of it as being kind of like a fill in the blank, almost like a rubric. We will be providing this resource for these people at this location over this period of time, kind of like the 5 W's, if you will, the who, what, when, where, and why, right? So it's just basically kind of spending a little bit of time thinking about that. Just to give you an example of that, if you could do next slide, please, Anna. Here is an example coming up of the Alameda County Community Food Bank. And this was based on some work I did during my time with collaborating agencies responding to disasters, helping a group of agencies, one of which include Catholic Charities, by the way, working on their continuity of operations plan. And they're going to continue their current mission to alleviate hunger and to recover their business units after any kind of disruption, disaster, or the break in operations. So the questions you want to look at that are you clear on what the food bank does? Does it lead back to their everyday mission statement? Is it clear what their role would be during and after a disaster? And it's funny because I did this example a number of years ago. It's turned out to be incredibly timely during this time of COVID because the food bank, I think, was seeing things triple the kind of, and over a long period of time, not just like a lot of people were always planning for things like earthquakes, fires, floods. I remember when I first started E9R, we were actually helping with the Coyote Creek flooding. Even though we're an Alameda County-based agency, we're actually helping some people down south. So, think about this a little bit. Think about the mission statement. I'm going to be digging more into this during our series in the East Bay hub for the OASI, when we start to have about continuity operations. But, be prepared to bring some people together, and not just necessarily, as Ron indicated earlier, sometimes they try to do like just a small group of people. We're really big from the approach I picked up from CARD about getting engagement at all different kinds of levels. And in fact, I'm going to kind of go ahead and sort of zip through some of those other levels a little bit. I'm not going to be spending a lot of time on these, but the slides, when you get this slide or look at the recording, it'll give you something you can kind of look at. So if you could do the next slide, please, Anya. So staffing and volunteers, for example. I think Ron really touched on it. There's not much I need to say except help reinforce that point that Ron made. You've got to have people. It's all about the people. When you talk about logistics is people and stuff. And stuff will just sit there in a pile and not do anything. You need the people to make that stuff happen. So how would you be able to use volunteers? How would you be able to handle planning? There's going to be some trainings coming up about volunteer and donations management. So what things shouldn't be assigned to volunteers? How do you make sure the volunteers are actually ready to handle things? The one thing I just basically kind of want to share, though, is if you look at that top bullet point under the picture, everyday brilliance, that's the motto I inherited from collaborating agencies responding to disasters, was make your everyday brilliance in your disaster resilience. So make sure that's actually part of it. It's just one of those things that you actually handle. And couch potato preparedness, that's just my favorite example. One game that we once played was which characters in Star Trek would fit the roles in the incident command system in the best possible ways. I made the argument that Scotty, for example, was a good planner. That's one of the roles in ICS is planning, because he always told Captain Kirk, I see a thumbs up. Yay, I'm not the only nerd. Yay. Yeah, be careful being a red shirt. Although if the red shirts are more prepared, maybe they'd survive better, right? Because Scotty always told Captain Kirk more time than it actually would take in order to get the engines back up, right? So he always had that extra buffer time built in. So next slide, please. So communications, Ron really touched on that heavily too. So can you see how the tiers build on each other? So basically just making sure how you communicate as many ways as possible. One person in the chat talked about having a small radio. So test that out and see if the radios would actually work. When should you communicate? I think early and often. Have check-ins frequently, especially early on. What should you communicate? Timely, accurate status reports. So remember what Ron said? That no information is better than wrong information. Do no harm. It's kind of like you taking the Hippocratic Oath, right? If somebody put in there under promise and over deliver. Yes, exactly. And next slide, please. And then this is more like continuity of operations kind of stuff, which we'll all be digging into at our various hubs, in more ways. But the meat and potatoes basically is your critical functions, which usually has two parts: your administrative, the support, and the parts that are doing your mission. So your list of mission critical functions are how is it you deliver the services that you deliver. So it's important to actually know what those are and what resources you need in order to make those things happen. Whereas on the next slide, you'll actually see the essential administrative critical functions, which is sort of a fancy way of saying all the stuff that handles the back of house, the payroll, the redirecting phones. In fact, that's actually something that 211 had to do when we basically went from being a call center focused here in Hayward to being a much more virtual call center. Most of our resource specialists are actually working remotely and have been for a year or more. And that's worked out quite well because the technology actually allows that kind of thing. So yes, just the facts. Stick to the facts, stick to what you know is true, and never be shy about saying what you don't know. So thank you very much, Joelle Parks, for saying that. Because that's a really, really important point. Just the facts, ma'am, as they say. And I believe that's actually my part. So I actually kept it a little bit short. I hope that wasn't too fast, but we're going to be expanding on this more widely in future trainings, but this kind of gives you the skeleton or the framework or the framing for it. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Lars Eric. So let me pause for a moment and see if any of you have any questions so far. I know we're throwing a lot of information out there at you, but today is the first in our series of preparedness workshops. So each of us in each of the 4 areas, 4 geographic hubs in the Bay Area are offering a complete series of workshops. So there's going to be many, many opportunities. All of these sessions are going to be Zoom based. So you can log in to over 20 different sessions to keep supporting you along the way from now through the end of the calendar year. So try really hard not to get overwhelmed. We're trying to nest your understandings in some key planning topics and principles, and then provide support along the way for you as you embark on this journey this fall. So any questions, put them in the chat. And I'm not seeing any pop in just yet, but we've got lots of us watching the chat. So thank you, Lars Eric. I love the Star Trek analogy. It helps us all, like you said, couch potato. Let's think about this a little bit differently and in a fun way. So let's move on to tier 3, the top of the triangle. And so for any of you who have studied sociology or psychology, it looks a little bit like Maslow's triangle, right? I mean, we got to start at the basic level of, life safety and survival actions. Lars Eric was covering, well, what do we need to focus on for reestablishing our own organization's operations and service delivery? And at the top is this tier 3, fulfilling a broader community role. This is the planning elements that we want you to think about so that you are connected to others in the community. You have clarity and understanding about how and when you might fit in and how you can coordinate with one another. So these topics, MOUs, memorandums of understanding, who might you want to have a written agreement with, so that as staff turns over, as people may be away on vacation, you have organizational commitments in place for different understandings. A good example of this is some work that was done by our Bay Area food banks, which cover 12, more than our 12 Bay Area UASI counties, are 6 or 7 food banks in the greater Bay Area. They actually have a signed mutual assistance agreement that has come into play multiple times over the last few years. They share food product if needed. They share staffing, they share trucks, warehouse equipment, forklifts, all of that. They have a written understanding of how they're going to back up one another. This is a wonderful way that they fulfill a critical community role, and they are supporting one another in doing so. Your coordination with others is a topic we're going to break down in the South Bay Hub into 2 separate workshops. How do nonprofits coordinate with our local government entities? We'll have a session focused just on Santa Clara County and how CADRE supports the network of nonprofits in working with our different jurisdictions. And then we'll have another session for the Monterey, San Benito, Santa Cruz area with their government offices of emergency services and response, relief, and recovery on how they'd like to coordinate with nonprofits. So if you're joining us from the South Bay Hub, those sessions are on our series calendar. There will be sessions just like this for each of the other Bay Area counties and hubs as well. If you're joining us from out of the Bay Area, ping any one of us, or actually ping Heather, who introduced herself at the beginning, and she'll try and connect you with what other resources we know of for other areas in the state. Donations management, a huge topic. We have secured a national expert on nonprofit donations management. Her name's Charlene Sargent, and she comes from the Adventist Community Services. They're in charge of warehousing donations in times of disaster. An incredible resource. She'll be speaking with us all on October 5th for the 12 Bay Area counties. So if you aren't yet registered for that topic, do so there. The last 3 boxes, they kind of overlap of how you connect and coordinate in your broader community role. Trainings and exercises. A lot of our government entities run trainings and exercises throughout the calendar year. CADRE will actually be running a tabletop exercise in Zoom in a virtual format that our executive director, Marcia Hovey, is working on. It'll run on September 1st and September 8th, looking at wildfire experiences, temporary evacuation points, who does what understandings can we clarify for our local community. You're welcome to sign up and listen and learn if you're from out of our county, or actively participate if you're a Santa Clara County nonprofit. Vital records and recovery planning, those are things that you do after you've got your reestablishing operations and service delivery kind of underway. We want to make sure you've thought about your vital records vendors. Who do you rely on for payroll, for insurance, for other facilities or support, your web IT people, maybe they aren't always internal to your organization. What do you need to have in place so your services can continue? And then lastly, we know recovery planning is super important. And we're seeing that play out even now with wildfires and with our pandemic experience. So with that, I want to give us some time to really get into breakout groups. We have 42 of you on the line with us today, and we're going to give you the option to go to breakout rooms by each of these different tiers and spend about 15, maybe 20 minutes in these breakout rooms and have an opportunity to talk about your reds, your yellows, your greens on your self-assessment exercise, okay? So if you are most concerned about wanting to talk about those life safety and survival topics, Ron's gonna go to breakout room 1 and work with you there. Lars Eric will take a group that want to talk about reestablishing operations. And if you want to talk about those last topics I just covered on tier 3, you'll stay in this main room and we'll kind of tackle some of those content topics here. So right now I'm going to stop sharing. And let me open our breakout rooms and you get a choice to choose which room you want to go to. Did it show up for you? Oh, we had this problem on our run. How do I do this?
So an interface thing is when you see the list, you have to hover over the little blue number and it turns into the word join. Not an obvious interface thing. I was expecting like a big button. But it's like a little blue number that I see next to tier 2 and it turns to the word join when I move my cursor over it. I'm about to click on join for tier 2 right now. It asks me if I want to and I say yes.
Lars, where are you seeing that? Oh, he went into the breakout room.
Are folks finding it? I see some of you moving in and out. No? Okay.
Marcia,
yeah.
and it's not popping up for us. I think it popped up for the whole.
Popped up on my phone. It's 4 little square boxes. It says join breakout room. It might be in the lower corner new icon on screen or
Anna,
upper left corner.
Sorry, Anna, I'm not seeing anything either. You might just want to do what I had to do the last time mine crashed and just grab people's names and say, where do you want to go? And just start pushing them.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Anna, really quick, what they can do on the very, very bottom, there's breakout rooms.
No, there's not.
Oh,
No.
for you guys? Okay.
Only for the hosts and the co-hosts.
Gotcha.
That's why he was able to join, I think, so quickly and easily.
Hello.
That's what I did too.
Okay.
Hi.
Hold on, I'm muting Cole because he's talking at us. Okay, so let me just go down in alphabetical order. Anne Marie, where do you want to go?
With Ron. Thank you.
With Ron, life safety. There you go. Araceli, where would you like to go?
2.
2. Bella, where would you like to go? Bella. Blanca, where would you like to go?
1.
1. Marisol, where would you like to go? Marisol? 2?
Yeah.
Okay. Cole, where would you like to go? Hold up the number on your fingers. 3. Okay, you're staying here with me. Colleen, where would you like to go? Cinia Sapp?
1.
Cinia to 1. Off you go. Daniela Archibald, where would you like to go?
3.
Dipanker. Oh, Philip, I see you. Off to 1. Yeah, if you want to just hold your finger up, Larry, you want to go to 1. That actually goes faster for me, you guys. Thank you. Who else? Linda, Jody, you want to go to 2? I can't see everybody. Hold on. There we go. Norma to 2. Sorry about this, you guys. Linda to 1. Off you go. Malika to 1. Melissa to, you're staying with me. And Melissa Tang to 1. Mike Marisol, I see your fingers up to 2. Sorry about this, guys. Who else? Elizabeth, let me get up to the top here because you're all in alphabetical. Elizabeth to 1. Bella, there you are, Bella. Oh, you're staying with me, Bella. Beatrice, 2. Who else is still here? Anybody else still wanting to go somewhere? Stefan, you want to go to 2. Jamie, you want to go to 2. Okay, anybody else? The rest of you staying with me? Come off mute if you want to go somewhere.
2 for Sabrina.
You can put me anywhere.
Sabrina, 2. Gotcha. Who else?
You can put the bunker anywhere you want. Balance me out.
Dipankar, let me send you into 1.
Thanks.
Okay. And let's see. Duell, are you staying with me? I've got about 13 of you in here.
I'll do whatever you want.
Awesome. Why don't you stay with me, Duell?
You got it.
All right. Anybody else want to go somewhere before? I have a 408-442 number. Who's that? Do you want to go somewhere? Okay. All right. Well, this is my tier 3 group. Thank you for staying with me. And so what do you want to talk about? Let me just do a little bit of a round robin. There's just 12 of us. If you're willing to turn your cameras on, that'd be wonderful. You know, tell me a little bit about your coloring exercise. What things you can either start with your reds or you can start with your greens. Melissa, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, we are nonprofit organizations actually starting from scratch. We're going through some reorganizational structures right now, and we're creating an emergency services department. And this is just information of where to go and how to start for us. But we do community-based work and volunteer work, and we hire youth to help us with our organization. So I stayed here because tier 3 was mostly community work. And yeah, that's where we're at. There is a lot of red across the board. We are creating everything from scratch right now because like I said, we have our organization, we have our departments, but we are currently working on an emergency response team. So
okay, thank you, Melissa. And SJCC is
San Jose Conservation Corps. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Bella, you want to share a little bit? You know, do you have any particular questions you want to talk about or concerns?
I second Melissa. We've been in business for over 50 years. And we don't currently have an emergency preparedness, and we do serve an area that is of low income and trilingual folks. So I would like to be better prepared to be able to serve them in case of a disaster because we don't currently have a plan in place.
Okay, all right, thank you. And Bella, what organization are you with and where are you located?
Sure, it's POSO, Portuguese Organization for Social Services. And we're in the San Jose, zip code 95116, right before you get to downtown.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
San Jose, for those that don't know very much about San Jose, we're right in the middle of San Jose.
Okay, thank you for joining us today. Let's see, Michael Farrell, you want to come off mute? Michael, Colleen, Colleen, I know you're here with us from FEMA, correct?
Hi, yes, Colleen Zaremba here from FEMA. Just wanted to listen in, and the webinar looked like a really great topic that you had going on this week. I know you guys put webinars on often, so just wanted to join and see what was it all about.
Okay, thank you for being here. And as we're in this room on, fulfilling a broader community role and connecting up, any thoughts or tips that you want to offer up to the group on coordinating with FEMA, or any thing you want to share from your agency?
Sure. I mean, it's really important, I think, to build these relationships and, get to know all the partners. We have a network of partners that we work with, but we continue to bring, in new players that are working in disasters. So I think it's really important to stay connected, with FEMA and the state, and those even now we're working to get, a declaration has been set for the new disasters for the fires this year that are happening in California, and keeping those lines of communication open, because things can happen at any minute. It's always, always in the response or recovery phase. It seems like here in California, we're still recovering from last year's fires and recovering from Camp Fire, and now, moving into that response phase. And so really it's, just important to get to know one another and what you can offer, and, who we are, and be able to be there to be able to share those resources as needed, when things happen and when we are activated. So I think it's just really important. I think the piece of, keeping the communication and lines open between the nonprofits and the federal government, so that we know who each other is and we can reach back when we need to talk.
Yeah, and Colleen, tell everybody your title, where you are in FEMA, because I know you and I know each other, but maybe not everybody on the screen.
Oh, sure. And I'm sorry, I can't put my video on today. I have some things going on in the background here, but Colleen Zaremba, and I am a FEMA voluntary agency liaison. So I work with the nonprofit groups and coordinate with the state, really that liaison between FEMA and the nonprofits, sharing that information. So when a federal declaration is declared and we are involved in a disaster, any reports that come out, any data that, is not with personal information about survivors, but just giving counties an idea of things that are happening, of how many homes may have been damaged, different FEMA programs that have been activated. Oh, someone's calling on my Teams. Let me shut that down. FEMA programs that have been activated, and just keeping that update with all of you all on what's currently happening, and then we're able to take questions and bring things back, whether it's for our individual assistance programs for individuals that have been affected by disaster, or our public assistance programs that may include, public works, but the nonprofits may be involved with some of the things such as like debris removal, trees being down, other things that affect maybe individuals, but going through that public assistance realm. And so, it's just continuing to coordinate and share any information of the federal government as we work in the disaster to help all of you and provide those resources.
Great. Thanks so much for sharing that, Colleen. Duell, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I had a question. We have a water situation in the town of Mendocino. Can I ask FEMA, do they have a portable water purification or treatment available to us?
So FEMA doesn't just have things available. What we do is looking at our individual and households program. There is a criteria of what can be covered. So when a disaster happens and hits, there's a period of time that you have to apply, based on all of the things that have been lost, whether a home is completely destroyed, damaged to what extent. And if for whatever reason it's not granted right away, there are opportunities to, submit information, because maybe there's things that weren't initially included that, can be then covered. So I think that would be kind of a one-off situation, and asking about that, depending on, are you talking, which disaster you're talking, for 2020, like the wildfires right now, they're just working through the activation. So there isn't anything official, but, going through the official process to apply for FEMA. And then I think with situations like that, if it's something that is included, that can, you know, be included in one of our programs, calling the helpline directly to work with one of the, because they work directly, they can pull up your files, they can pull up your cases. You know, I don't have that access on my screens in front of me, just, you know, to see for the survivors. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, you're getting a head nod there. Thanks, Duell. Luna, do you want to share a little bit about your thoughts or what you have resources to offer?
So, hi, I'm Luna Mohammed. I'm the Community Resilience Coordinator for Monterey County Office of Emergency Services. I was basically hired to develop a community resilience plan and projects related to community resilience for my office. And a lot of what I'm doing falls in line with developing, for example, a disaster resource directory so that the community and local nonprofits have a nice list of organizations throughout the county who help with debris removal, or a resident who needs document replacement, or just getting information during a disaster. What local news stations can I reach out or listen to, or tune into? Where can I go online to get information? Where can I go for child support or child care services during disaster recovery and the like? So that's one thing that we're doing to try to really bridge some of those gaps. And we tend to, and this isn't just emergency services, this is all types of different organizations and departments. We often work in silos, and it works against us. And the more we can work together, the more resilient we really are. I believe the terms community and resilience work together, and they complement one another, and we can't have one without the other. Just my 2 cents.
Okay, thanks, Luna. If you have a question or there's something in particular you want to talk about, please feel free to, you know, throw a message in the chat, raise your hand, and I'll call on you. But Michael Farrell, or the number that ends in 4873. If you have anything you'd like to share, come off mute. Feel free to do so. And otherwise, I have a couple of colleagues in here. I'm not sure if any of you have something you want to share. Heather, Rich, Cole. Rich is giving me a thumbs up. Cole's giving me a thumbs up. You know, so when we were doing these, we can talk about more than just tier 3 and fulfilling a broader community role. Did you have any reds on your coloring chart that are giving you more concern than others that you want us to spend a few moments talking with you in a small group about? No?
I would like to say a couple things real quick. Biggest problem and challenges we run into is with our co-ed and vo-eds is getting EOC to work with us. That's a really difficult problem because we're small, and getting them to use and going to the table, what we can bring to the table, what our resources are, what our community partner resources are. It's like we are forgotten about until after the fact, when we are really a good resource.
Yeah,
so that's a real problem we're having with a lot of smaller communities and smaller counties. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good point, Duell. Marcia, I think that might be you with your hand up.
Yes.
There you
Can you hear me
go.
now?
Yeah.
Sorry. And I'm sorry, I'm on my phone and I can't go on video right now. But just to Duell's point, it really is developing that relationship. And sometimes you have to start small, but really educating them on what you can do. And if you have a VOAD, the VOAD can help be that advocate. And if you don't, you really need to help start one. I don't know what county you're in.
I think Duell is up north, and he's also you're with a couple of different organizations. Is that right, Duell?
Yes, I'm a CERT team leader. I'm with the Siji Buddhist Organization Director. I'm with Red Cross Logistics and LSAP. I'm also with Mendocino County Search and Rescue 49 years. I have worked with the counties many ways. I used to be retired deputy. So it's when we get a young whippersnappers, I'm going to say, they know it all. We know nothing. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
I've seen it with every organization. I hate to say it that way. Military's that way. Everything's that way. So, you know,
It
learn
is,
from your
and
elders. Learn
yeah.
from your elders.
It is like that, and just between the 12 of us, sometimes you need to find a political advocate to help push your agenda and make you more valued.
Yep.
So that if they're getting that from an elected official, they're more likely to pay attention. And that's not the way it should be, but sometimes that's the way it has to be. So make friends with the elected officials and let them know what you're doing and let them know what your challenge is.
Thank you,
That
Marcia.
wasn't the reason I actually raised my hand. Just for those that are, you know, they're looking at that broader community role, make sure that you do know exactly how you're going to support your normal role, that you're sure that your staff is going to be available, and if you want to know how to help your community more, we're happy, CADRE's happy to talk to you about that and the impacts of disaster so you can plan for it. But then even your disaster mission, which we've found very much with COVID, it's like you have your normal clients, but now you have all of these other people that weren't your clients, but now because they've lost their jobs or other things have happened, you know, the cities have broadened who they want you to serve. And your disaster mission statement needs to allow for that. Otherwise, if you're getting grant money and your mission says you're only helping underserved people or a certain population, and you start serving other people, you could put your ability to get reimbursed in jeopardy.
Okay.
That's
Rich,
it.
thank you, Marcia. Rich, you have your hand up, and I'm going to give kind of a 1-minute warning. Is that enough time for me to tell the other rooms 1 minute? Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours, Rich.
Oh, thank you. Fulfilling a broader community role. Cole is in the process of drafting a great paper about how Campbell and West San Jose has spread out throughout the county. And I wanted to check out with maybe Heather and Luna and Bella and Melissa, about what they do to overcome apathy. You know, a lot of people nowadays, they're so busy, they either don't care or they're too busy to care. Do they have any specific tips for which they are able to engage and bring people in?
Well, currently right now, we employ, it's a youth build program, and we employ young adults. So we, as much as possible, try to connect them with the purpose and our mission statement. And that's how we go about it. We do the usual weekly meetings and engagement meetings.
Okay, thanks, Melissa.
Youth is a very great resource for dealing with apathy. They tend to have more energy and are fresher when it comes to trying to get things done. They're not as tired as us because they have less years on their belts. Honestly, aside from that, I would say disaster experiences. You're too busy, but you're not going to be too busy when it hits you. And I've actually noticed, at least with parents, something that I do to get them to stop at our booth during events to get preparedness information is I'll see their kid, I'll look at the kid and I'll be like, hey, so what are you gonna do when there's a 2-day power outage? How are you gonna keep your kid entertained? They'll turn around right away like, oh wait, how am I gonna keep my kid entertained? I'm like, that's a good question. You should probably get some flashlights and some books and extra batteries for the games and the like. So it's really just letting people know that it is in their best interest. And it's going to affect them regardless, and it'll affect them less if they put the little time in now rather than after the fact.
Awesome. Thank you, Luna. And I see everybody has come back to our room. Thank you. So what you see on your screen right now is our last interactive activity. So back to another Menti screen. Take a few moments. Tell us something you learned today or a key takeaway from this morning's discussion. We have just about a little less than 10 minutes. To close out today's program, we want to hear from you. What aha moment did you have listening to today's program? And what action item are you going to do as a result of being with us today? And then Lars Eric has in the chat box, if you're not using your camera, the code, and he'll put in here the results link as well. Let me do a stop sharing just for a moment and get us over to that screen so we can all see what we've built with that one. And let's see, this was the name of your organization. So hang on just a second. Let me get us back out to, oh, I did a wrong thing. Hang on one second, folks. I got the wrong screen up for us. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm doing this wrong. Give me one moment. Let's see what you all have said. Present. Okay. Share this screen. All right. Good diverse participation, sharing knowledge, mission statement, keep preparedness going. Wonderful. And what action items are you going to do? Make a plan, talk with staff. Let's do some work on safety, personal preparedness. Okay, wonderful, folks. Keep working on that, and we're going to send these back to you as well so you can see what you're committing to do for yourselves as a part of today's program. All right, we have a couple of things to close out today's program. We talked a bit about the upcoming series, and today was the first of them. There's another QR code up here if you want to link directly to that. I am going to start our evaluation poll. It's 10:23, and one of the things our funders ask us to do is get some feedback from all of you on what you think this is going on. So let me have a couple of closing remarks from our speakers, Ron and Lars Eric, because Lars Eric, I got this error message again. I'll have to start it from my laptop, but go ahead. And Lars Eric and Ron, if you'll give us a few closing comments.
I just want to note real quickly, Anna, although I know you're trying to launch, Rich Saito has his hand up.
Oh, I think that was from the last time, Rich. Is that correct?
Okay, I just want to make sure I am paying attention. So, and I guess since I already started talking, I'll just basically say maybe that's probably the one thing that you just kind of want to do in helping making sure that you and your staff and your volunteers and your clients and your families and everyone around you is actually prepared to just pay a little attention. Now, I've gotten in the habit, I need to clear my head in the morning anyway with my cup of coffee. So I tend to walk around the property here. And I walk down a back alley that nobody else actually walks down to see if anything's been abandoned there. Just kind of like paying attention. It also means listening to people's concerns. So I think that's actually, I mean, just that. You know, during the breakout, one person mentioned they don't have it written down, but they got a really good sense of what their functions are. So writing stuff down is good, but having it in your bones is better. So pay attention and let it kind of work its way into your bones. And that's basically all I have to say, I think.
Thank you, Lars Eric. Ron?
Yeah, it's like, you know, Anna, I just first want to say thank you for having us. It's like, I love meeting new people, and you guys are fantastic. I love what we did in our breakout. And, you know, for working with your teams, it's like, and I mentioned this in the breakout, that emergency preparedness training is just not a one-time thing. It's not a list that you just check off. You're really trying to build that culture of preparedness within your organization. And that's across the board. And again, we take a look at the why. Why are we doing this? Is it because of a grant? Is it because of funding? No, it's because of people. It's about the families that you care about. And if you relate that back to your teams, to your staff, how much more do you think they're going to want to do the preparedness? And so really encourage them that this is not about you know, we have to do this, which to me is boring. But if you have that real strong reason to get it done, to take these courses, to get it. And, you know, we're doing a training, and I know, Anna, you're going to be talking about our regional trainings in a little bit, but we're going to be doing one on AFN, access and function needs. And Elizabeth, I'd love to hook up with you on this one, because we want to make sure that our communities know about the batteries that people can get, the hotel stays they can get, the transportation, all the resources that they can possibly get. And this training is going to be on September 14th and 16th. I would encourage you, if you have staff that have family members, please have them take that training. It's going to be a fun one because we have guest speakers from our FAST team members. Vance Taylor from our Cal OES from California will be there as well. But definitely this is something, and then engage, you know, get engaged in this one, make it fun. And during our breakout, we actually did an exercise, or didn't do an exercise. I showed them an exercise, and that's why you had a pass on there. But, you know, definitely have fun with your teams and just get prepared. And Anna, thank you again for having us.
All right. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Lars, Eric. Heather, I think you wanted to talk a little bit about tomorrow's session.
I do. I also, the poll disappeared on me, and I don't think I hit save on it, and it's not showing up anymore. And in a technical sense, I think there's a question missing, so my brain is going all over the place. However, tomorrow I have 3 amazing speakers to come and talk about resource access, kind of answering that question, what is a resource? We're going to dive deep into VOAD membership and how VOADs can help you access resources. I have Emily Rogan from United Policyholders, who's going to talk about insurance and those kinds of, you know, resource access you can buy. And Michelle Miles, I've been saying her name wrong forever. I just realized I've been writing it wrong too. Michelle Miles Chambers from the San Francisco Foundation, to kind of talk to us about because a lot of us receive foundation money for particular things, and to kind of let us know what we could ask for, or talk to foundations about adjusting those funds in order to use them towards the disaster in front of us, rather than that program that we say can't do right now because of the disaster. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can send out a link for that if people would like afterwards. I have all of your names because I'm also the registrar for this UASI program. A lot of you got an email from me yesterday. And you can always reach out if you have problems signing up or what have you. I can help with that. Anything else, Anna?
No. Let me. I've got
one brain's going and going a million miles an hour right now. Busy
okay,
day.
I've got one. I've got a couple of last comments. A number of you in your registration said you were not familiar with our technical assistance program. There's a flyer up on your screen, and we will send, if you indicated, yes, please send me more information, I will follow up with a flyer to you with more information on these kind of open office hours. Think of them like, you know, you were going to your college professor or whatever. We're going to host open office hours. You can bring your planning questions, bring your challenges, bring your ideas there, and we'll open up a room to continue dialogue and support your planning along the way. And with that, I want to turn our program back to Araceli, our CADRE Vice Chair, to close us out for today.
Thank you so much, Anna. As Vice Chair of CADRE Board of Directors, I want to say thank you this morning for being with us. We are happy to see so many investing time looking into ways to improve your organization for readiness and resiliency. So again, thank you very much for coming.
All right.
Touch with us. Let us know what topics you would like to hear. So thank you so much for joining us. Anna?
Okay.